Alright, so now we have our model. We need to rig it. So I'm going to use the human IK in order to rig this model. So to do that, you're simply going to switch from modeling or whatever you're at to rigging. You can also get it here. You can push on this button. Or if you go to skeleton, human IK, ... And this little panel is going to pop open here momentarily. Alright, first thing I do is click create skeleton. Now, depending on how big your character is, it might be giganticus, which is kind of a problem. So you need to scale it. Now, you can actually grab this locator and scale it that way, but it has a little slider here, so I just suggest using that. The only problem is it's not super responsive. So it goes by about half. Alright, and then I'm just going to hit A. There we go. Okay, so now I just got to scale it up a little bit. Now you see I can't really see the skeleton because it's inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Shading, X-Ray Joints, and then I can see through the character. And I'm going to scale a little bit more. That was too much. That was too... yeah. Okay. And you got to guesstimate as best as you can. Okay. Now, what we need to do is, don't worry about the sizes and things, because you're going to move all these manually anyway. So you just want to get roughly in the right area. Now, down here, you can kind of choose the things that you need. But quite honestly, the defaults are probably what's best if you're going to be doing most kinds of production, especially if you're doing game. Because you do not want to go any higher. The more you add, the heavier it is, the more computationally expensive, so on and so forth, right? So, curiosity. Let's see, it didn't. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so what you need to do is you go right down here and you can see all these various options and things. The default that I see is honestly good, so just go with the default. We do not need to concern ourselves with that. Unless you had like a different looking character, you really shouldn't need to change many of these. Our characters have 5 fingers and stuff, so we don't need to add extra fingers or remove fingers. So let's go to definition. This is going to be basically our cue if we do something wrong. Like if it doesn't like the way we move or rotate or do something, you want to do is keep an eye on it. So watch. If I take this and I move it in a way it doesn't like, see how it turned orange? Little triangle? That means danger, Mr. Robinson. Or Will Robinson. I don't know. I never watched that. But it's a no-go, okay? So if you see that, just undo whatever it is that you did and fix it. Okay. I am going to start with the leg. Let me see something real quick. And that looks okay. Yeah, we'll start with the leg. Okay. So first things first, I need to make sure that it goes this. I'm going to pull it out this way. And what I'm going to do is you do not want to bend the leg in any kind of way. Oops, like this. Hang on a second, like this. The reason being is that it's going to give you weird deformation, or it's going to articulate in a strange way. So you want to keep everything nice and straight, okay? Do me a favor too. Go to your tool settings and make sure you have your axis orientation on object, okay, for rotation and for movement. So for both W and E, both rotate. Scale shouldn't be an issue. You're not going to need to mess with that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll move this over, and you're going to move it over until you try to center as best as possible. So it might be there's a little bit farther out on the hip than you'd like, and maybe a little bit too close to the medial side of the medial. It might be close to like on the medial side of the foot. But what I would tell you to do is just try to center it as best as you can down the leg, and don't bend any of those. Like just let it be fine this direction. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and see if this will let me move it forward. It will not. It does not like that. Okay. So I'm looking at this, and I'm going to go ahead and take this and move this a touch forward. That looks better. Okay. So I just grabbed the locator down here and I moved it forward. All right. So I'm looking at this, and right off the bat, if you look at my knee, it's too low, right? So all I'm going to do is just pull this up and put it roughly where the knee should be. Now, I cannot move it forward. Oh no, we'll let me move it forward. Okay. So instead of moving it forward, I'd rather rotate this forward. Like that. Okay, and try and favor somewhat the front of the knee. Then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to rotate this back. And then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to move this down to where the ankle should be. Okay, so roughly just look to where your ankle is. So right in the center of mass, in the center of the ankle. Now the next one here, this should go where the ball of the foot is, which oddly enough, this is just about where I want it. But you want it at the ball of the foot, and you want it on the ground, not in the center of mass. So like I want this in the center of mass. Generally the knee you want somewhat in the center of the mass, but more towards the front. And the hip you want in the center of the mass as much as possible. It's okay if it favors the outside. If you feel your side, you can actually feel the trochanter of your femur. It kind of comes, there's a piece that sticks in, and then it comes out and then down. So it's kind of okay that it's pivoting from there. So that's probably good for the feet. Alright, so now what I need to do is move my hips and stuff. So the hips here are fine. Basically, I want them to run, if you kind of can see, there's a thing called inguinal furrow. So if you ever watch or ever look at old paintings from like the masters, like Michelangelo or Leonardo or any of the Ninja Turtles, they always have this really strong, from like the ilium here, this really strong kind of line that comes across, and then it comes down here and up and around. Basically what it is, it's called the inguinal furrow, okay? And you pretty much want this centered on that. And you can kind of see this is already centered, so I don't really have to do too much with that. So that's good. Alright, so now I'm going to look at this, and if I look, you see how the belly kind of comes forward? So I'm going to hold D, because if I move this, it's going to move the entire thing. And I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is if I hold D, it's going to move just that one joint. Just like this one. Yeah. Hold D, and move it forward just a touch. Alright? So this way I get like a little bit of a curve. Alright, next is the chest. I'm looking at this and I feel like it's a little high, so I'm going to move it. I'm going to hold D and move down. So this chest is supposed to represent everything that basically is inflexible. The chest in general does not, it doesn't bend, right? Because you have that whole costal region, the rib cage, that's inflexible. Alright, so that looks fine. So basically I try to position that near where we would call the costal arch, where the pitch of it is. So you know, like if you felt in your chest here, this is right where the ribs stop. That's basically where you want to put that. Okay, so right, it's not the bottom of your sternum, because sternum ends a little bit before that, but you get the idea. Okay. All right. Next up, I'm just going to go ahead and do the neck. So the neck, I'm just going to pull straight up, and I'm going to try and put that at the base of the neck. There's really not all that much to it. Then I'll push if you push up and down on your arrow keys, it'll move up and down your joint chain. So I'm going to push up, or down, sorry, and I am going to move this roughly to just behind and below the ear, okay? That's kind of where the head originates, right about there, okay? So it's kind of where the jaw bends, and it's also where the head, the cranium of the head basically lies. Next up, we have the scapula. So, generally speaking, you want to, not scapula. Well, it's scapula and it's clavicle, but usually we just call it clavicle. They probably call it clavicle too. Oh, they say left shoulder. Okay. But basically, it's your collarbone. Okay. Now, generally speaking, it's actually bending from the center, like right where the pit of the neck is where it originates. And then, but that's not really going to work because it'd create like a really pinchy area. So the default of this actually is not too bad. The only thing you might want to do is maybe move it forward, but I'm actually going to kind of leave it in the center. I think it's fine right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my shoulder here, and I don't know if I am allowed to move it. Okay, I'm going to try and move this up to where I want it, like that. I'm just going to try and center it, just like I did with the knee, okay? So we're going to say right there, and I'm going to look above. And let's see if it'll let me move it back. It will. Okay, so I'll move it back a little bit. And I'm basically just going to do the best I can to sort of center this. So I'm going to go a little bit forward. Okay, like that. Okay, so that looks fine. The elbow, you're not allowed to move this in any other direction other than this way. You cannot move it back and forth. And you cannot move it up and down. Oops. Cannot go like that either, and you cannot go like that either. The only way you're allowed to move it is back and forth, which is fine. So what I'm going to do is just make sure that I'm right on that elbow. So I'm going to hold D so it doesn't affect the wrist. And I'll move it forward just a touch. It looks okay. Look at my wrist here, and that's actually pretty close too. So the thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to rotate it down. And then I am going to position these joints. Okay. So I'm going to take this and I am going to move it up and over. So these are meant to basically represent the metacarpals, right? So your carpals are here, and then your metacarpals are the big long bones in your that kind of create the palm of the hand. All right. So I'm looking at these, and let's rotate this up just a touch because it feels a little bit low. So I'll make sure I try to center them in the mass as much as possible. All right. They also got to get moved. If you look, my hand in particular is kind of rounded here. It's cupped is what they say. So I'm going to take this and move this one down a little bit. That one's up a little bit, and we'll move this one down a little bit more. Okay, that looks fine. Now what I'm going to do is go through and basically place each one of these. This might be easiest to do from the top view here. I'm going to go shading, X-ray joints. Okay. And I'm just going to quickly put this at the base. Take this one, put this one at the base, this one at the base, and this one at the base. Alright, I'll do the thumb last, I'm not so concerned. And then I'll just take this joint and I'm just going to rotate it to follow the line here. E. So follow the line. I'm going to hit Q and then go back and hit E again. And there we go, hit Q, just so it's just select, and then E. And rotate it like that. Beauteous. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at these, and you can see this is obviously sticking out, so I want to follow the contour. Select this one, bend that one down. Alright, and I'm looking at this too, and I'll move it back down. It's not really so much centered there as I would like. You can see this one's sticking out a bit much too. So I'm just going to kind of push it back and forth. And that one's okay. Okay. So this, and I'm going to rotate this up just a touch. Okay, take this one, and rotate this one so it just kind of fits good. And take this one, and I'm going to rotate this one so it fits. Okay, I'll push the down arrow to get to the next joint. And I'm just going to move it till I get to where it needs. And actually, it's already in the right spot. Move it a little bit forward. I'm going to rotate it down. Okay, bend down. Push the up arrow. I'm sorry, down arrow. And I'm going to take this and move this straight down to where the next thing is. Okay, look at this guy. And I'll pull this forward. And a little bit more. And then I'm going to rotate it just a touch. Down to the next one. W. Pull it. And good. All right. Click on this one. Down arrow, and it's got to come forward a little bit right here, and I got to rotate it down just a smidgens. Down to the next one, W, pull it straight to get to that joint. Good. Next one, down arrow, and we're going to pull it forward just a touch. I'm going to pull it forward again, and we're going to go a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to take this. This is going to get rotated a touch, but I'm looking at this, and it looks like, I don't know, it looks like it's got to move down a little bit. And then we'll leave that be. Okay, take this guy, and I'll go to top view again, and I'm just going to take this, put it up here. Alright, and we're going to E to rotate. Wonk. Alright, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to kind of rotate this down. And, okay, down. Thumb's a little bit weird, and rotate that down, and yeah, down, and then we'll rotate that a little bit, and forward a little bit, and then down, and that's roughly in the right spot. Okay, so last thing I'm gonna do is select just the joints here. So just select the highest in the joint, click on this. You're gonna go to Edit, Skeleton, Mirror left to right, and that will mirror what you did on the left side to the right side. So now your skeleton is officially set up, and you are ready to go for the next step.